Good afternoon, everybody. This is Adrienne Montgomery with ERP VAR. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we're going to be talking about marketing for the modern VAR and how to launch a new ERP practice or supercharge your existing practice. And I'm going to go ahead and let Donna get started with kicking off the introductions of the Acumatica team. Thank you so much, Donna.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Today, we have a couple of our enablement team members joining us. We have Mark Roothouse, Inside Sales Account Manager, Noelle Blackson, our Partner Recruitment Manager, and Scott Copelands, Director of Partner Recruitment. And as Adrienne mentioned, I'm Donna Krizik, Director of Partner Marketing and Programs for Acumatica. I will hand it over to Scott, who I guess is going to introduce me.
I have a couple comments. So I didn't put slides in, so I would like to say also and echo Donna's sentiments of saying good morning, good afternoon, whether you're thinking about becoming a partner or already a partner. We certainly appreciate you investing some of your time with Acumatica today. We certainly know how busy your schedules are. So I have a disclaimer on the picture that I always like to include. So I'm actually happy in that picture. I am smiling on the inside, and I am really a fun person. So don't be afraid to dial into me. I'm not a fan of having my picture taken. I am 8 weeks new to Acumatica, and so you can tell how new I am by the fact that I'm still counting it in weeks. I hope to get to months at the end of August, and then in September or so next year, I'll get to have been here a year or so. It's a great company. I was working to get here actually for quite some time because of the people and the reputation of this company, where the product is and where it's going, and how well the channel program has been crafted here. I personally just wanted to be a part of it. However, now that I'm on the inside, and I was speaking with our CTO recently, and he said, "How do you like it?" And I said, I love it, but I think I may have made a mistake. And he said, "A mistake?" I said, "Yeah, now that I'm in here and I see really what the partner program is, I'm thinking I might have thought to be a VAR versus an employee. This is an incredible program." So we had a laugh over it, and again, this program, we have incredible margins, as you know, if you're already a partner, multi-departmental support, which Donna is going to demonstrate today, approachable executives. I mean, the situation that we have right now is that we're in front and we're running as fast as we can to improve everything that we do, and that's what I see on a daily basis. Every person I speak to inside the company that I haven't met before is just an absolute channel pro, business pro, whatever their departmental reach is, they're the best I've ever worked with. So I think that we're going to have a great run. If you're a prospective partner, certainly Mark and I and Noelle are here to speak to you whenever you have the inkling to reach out, or we will reach out to you. And look forward to hearing what Donna has to say today, because she is our marketing pro inside. And so let me introduce her with a little bit of her bio. She has a slide to hit. Donna. Sorry, I don't have control. So her background obviously is in marketing. From an education standpoint as well as a career standpoint, Donna has been in the thick of the marketing world, and as I have seen so far internally, everything that I see the marketing department doing is what I call Madison Avenue quality, top-notch, bringing big results, and proving it day after day that we really are making a very serious investment in helping partners and helping this company grow. Currently, Donna is serving as the Director of Partner Marketing and Programs, although I know she also wears some other hats from time to time. She's working with our entire partner ecosystem to help improve their marketing skills and bring more revenue and faster ROI to their organization. So with that, and in the interest of time, Donna, it's all you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And for some reason, my keyboard's not working, so I will dive right in. I'm really happy to be here and talk with you a little bit about marketing. I wanted to cover a couple of things on the introduction side, and I will echo what Scott said about Acumatica. I've been with Acumatica since October of last year, and I too spent some time trying to get into Acumatica because I really did think it had a lot going for it as a company and as a product. And being on the other end of that on the partner side was a really refreshing experience after working with, publishers like Microsoft who, they've been around forever and they do a fine job, but Acumatica really upped the game on that score. And I'm here 8-9 months and very thrilled, and everybody I meet is top notch. So I can't emphasize how good of a choice that was for me, and like to hear it from Scott as well. I wanted to orient us. I know the title of the presentation has a lot going on, and I am going to focus on launching a practice as it relates to the marketing aspect. So we'll be talking about marketing, and even though the principles that we're talking about are Acumatica focused, they will work for any product or solution. So they cover a wide range of skills. I'll cover the basics along with some advanced techniques and try to provide some real world examples from both my time at a partner and from my work with partners now. And then some of the questions I get asked most often, along with the mistakes that I see partners making or the misconceptions they might have. So let's dive in. For those of you who are starting a practice, or even if you have an ERP practice now, odds are you have not done a ton of marketing, and that's because we didn't have to. Historically, we were lucky for a long time that leads came to us, that people, we were the holders of all of the expertise, and they had to come to us to get that knowledge. Well, now it's everywhere. So marketing has become a necessity, and as a rule, we're not really good at it. And to get started, every single partner that I talk to, I ask them, who are you? And sadly, I bet everybody in the audience will hear this. This is what, there's a build here. So this is what I hear most. Every partner tells me the same 5 things. Well, we've been around forever, and our people are great, and we love our customers and treat them fantastically, and our support is awesome, and we know the system really well. If every partner is saying that, then it's not a differentiator, and that's what so far most of us who were horizontal partners have done. So if you're doing that, then you're going to force your audience to choose on price, and nobody here wants to be the Walmart of ERP. So we really want to sell on value, and to do that, you need to know who you are in other terms than those 5. And you don't have to guess. That's the good news. You have a customer base that they will tell you. You just have to ask. I know that we tell partners this a lot, to ask their customers why they chose them, what they like about them. And I see very few partners actually doing it or willing to do it. And I'm fascinated by that. I don't understand what the hitch is. So if you have any feedback for me on that topic, please put it in the chat box. I'd love to hear your thoughts, because it is the simplest road to finding your content, your about us. It will write itself if you ask your customers. Shoot for 10. Interview 10 customers. By the time you are talking to the 4th one, I guarantee you're going to start to hear some of the same things, and you're going to get a really good idea of what you are really good at. If you don't know, you can guess, but I don't recommend it, because then you're going to be just like everybody else out there. I would also say look at your database and figure out where your leads have come from. What are those lead sources? I know when I started at Crestwood 7, 8 years ago, they didn't know where their leads came from. They guessed. They said, oh, well, I think, we get a lot of referrals and, word of mouth, and, our customers like us, so they introduce us to other people. But they didn't have the data. They weren't tracking it. So it was both frustrating but fun, because I got to develop that system for them. And now, they can tell you every lead source that they have and the conversion rate of every lead source. And they have somebody on staff who is responsible for the care and feeding of that lead source, so that they keep making sure that it's current and that it's taken care of. All right, so when someone asks you what you do you have a pitch? Do you have an elevator pitch or a unique value proposition outside of this, we've been around forever? If not, use what you hear from your customers to build that. It's pure gold. Then the last thing you should do while you're interviewing your customers is ask them where they go to keep up to date and current, because this will tell you where you want to be in front of, and you have a guide, you have somebody to introduce you. So instead of what I get from a lot of partners come to me, they'll email me and they say, hey, I ran across this conference, should I sponsor it? And they're putting the cart before the horse. There's an easier way to do this. Instead of having to go down that road and say, oh, let's evaluate how many people are going to be there and what's the cost and all of this, why don't you talk to your customers? What conferences are they going to? Have them introduce you and have them go with you and say, like, oh yes, tell my story. And how did they get there? I got there with this partner. It's so much simpler and less costly to fail when you approach it that way. So this is a little bit of recapturing what I just mentioned about asking them where they get their information from. I know we push vertical a lot, and we've been pushing our audience on the Acumatica side to do that as well, but you can still be horizontal. What you need to do, let me back up for a minute. What you need to do is find your like-minded audiences. And we talk about this in our practice owner workshop. And it's basically a bigger section of a vertical to do this like-minded marketing. So maybe a service shop, whether it's a nail salon or anything that provides a service, they're going to have the same 5 needs from an ERP system, but they're a huge section of a vertical, so to speak. And you don't have to talk about, nail salons or hair salons or the specifics. You can talk about the features that each one of those is going to need and how you solve the problems. And for some evidence around that, I know that we push on vertical, and people have been historically pretty reticent to go on that because you think it's going to be harder or you're limiting your audience. But competition starts to get really easy when you go vertical or even like-minded. And this slide illustrates that perfectly. This is live data. We did a no-touch campaign for a bunch of our companies, our partners, and it's an outbound email campaign to a list that the partner provides to us. We put it into a constant contact account. We have the emails ready, they're templates. They can be focused on an install base, they can be from a purchase list, they can be from trade shows, whatever the partner wants us to do, we customize it, but we send it out and we show them the clicks, and this is the detail from that. And we had a bunch. I think partner A was doing a Sage campaign, partner B was doing an Infor campaign, and you can see we've got some data around the list quality, how many were delivered, the open rate and all that. But the real tell here for company D, they focused on their industry. and they got the biggest bang for their buck so far. And I don't have opportunity data, but I would be happy to share it when we get that, because they have 31 leads. But I will bet you that half of those are going to be opportunities and half of those will close. So they made their life a whole lot easier. They had a really good open rate click-through, number of leads, and their lead percentage was fantastic. And all they did was go to a trade show and take that trade show list and have us do the work. And we do that for free, by the way. We fund it. It's not free, I guess. Actually, I fund it. So step number 2, when we talk to partners, in number 1, define who you are, figure out who you are, make it very concrete and very clear. And then once you know who you are, let's find out where you are in marketing. You know, most of us have not done a fabulous job of this, and no matter what marketing tactic you start with, it's going to lead people back to your website. So you need to have a strong website. You see here, people will leave if it's not immediately clear. It's the psychology of search. When someone does a Google search and they find what they think is the right thing that they want, when they click, that little millisecond in there where they're going through the ether to get to your site is anxiety producing. It's a micro expression on their part. And when they get to your site, they want to be immediately comforted that they have gotten to the right place. And so you need to be crystal clear on what it is you do and who you are. You need to orient them as soon as they get there. You know, fancy flash, you know, clever taglines, all of that can be nice, but if it doesn't clearly express who you are and what you do to that visitor, they're going to press the back button. And that's not what you want. You want them to stay. All right. I thought that this guide here was a really good illustration in simple terms of how you can evaluate your website and orient people when they come to it. It just provides you with some pretty simple questions that you can answer to create your content. So like I was saying, you need them to be able to find out what you do in seconds, and you also need to not provide the same information that's going to be found on a publisher site. These days, visitors do not come to your site for a ton of product information. They come for information about you and why they should work with you. And you having experience solving their problems and talking about ways you've done that for others is going to go farther than anything. Acumatica offers some great tools around that. We have a website checklist that gives people a great place to start. It's a 10-point checklist. It's pretty simple. There's some things around adding your Acumatica to your top-line navigation and making sure Acumatica is in the URLs of those pages, and having a logo with your certification on it so that they know they get that credibility factor. But you can do this on your own without it. We recommend when you're creating and launching a new practice, put at least 2 product pages up and make sure that there's a clear goal, a clear process for them to go through on that page, some things for them to see and do, not just read, but some actual actions for them to take, because people want to be interactive. At Acumatica, we've got this wonderful thing called a partner toolkit, and we give partners an ID, and they just plug that into the toolkit, and it generates code that you can use to plug in a carousel that'll talk about customer success stories, some offers that we have, videos they can put on their site, and it's really low touch and low effort on your part. And if you don't have access to Acumatica's resources, you can reuse other high value content. You just need to change it 25% and add your spin to it. And that can be an easy way to start to build your content machine. Once you know who you are and where you are, it's time to start your plan, if you don't already have one. So you've got your objectives. A colleague of mine likes to say, start with the end in mind. That's a great way to think about it if you're new to marketing. So when you have your goals, whether they are net new ads or dollars or even getting some recognition, you know, we had a partner who came to us a little over a year ago and said, we want to be your partner of the year next year. How do we do that? And we work together to do a plan. So whatever your goals are, you put them down on paper, and then you start to map out what activities, what marketing activities are you going to take to get you there. And ideally, you're going to see what success looks like at regular intervals. So 30, 60, 90 days, where do you want to be? What are your milestones? And how often are you going to check in and map back to your plan? Because if you have a plan, but you never look at it except once a year when we require you to give it to us, it's not going to help you a whole lot. All right, so we're going to transition now from planning and evaluation to tactics. And the first thing that I would say after you figure out who you are and you've got your key points about us that you can talk to, create a basic buyer's journey. It doesn't have to be complicated. I know people throw around personas and all of the details around that. It can get really heavy and feel like a lot of work. It doesn't have to be. It can be pretty simple. It's just the steps somebody would take on your website. And I know it's not linear. People come back and forth and do a lot of crazy things on search, but ask yourself what a prospect would do if they were looking for your solution, or ask somebody who's in your ideal audience what they would do if they were looking for it. And then all you have to do is create one asset or piece of content, basically, for each stage. Here is the buyer's journey explained in pretty simple language. So up front, people are having pain. They've got a problem. I'm going to go out and see how I could solve that, what it's going to cost me, and how long it's going to take, all those kind of things. Consideration, you've gotten a whole bunch of options, and now you're trying to understand what each one does. And then deciding, I've got a short list, how do I choose? So as you have those buckets, create your content that'll answer those problems or those questions for everybody. And I know all of us working in this industry, we know who our competitors are in the consideration stage. We know who we're up against most of the time. And then we also know on the decision stage who are the top people that we wind up being in contention with. So if you're going to create some checklists or some comparisons, you don't have to go negative. You can go positive and say, focus on what you do better than the competition. But these are the kinds of things that will help move somebody through the funnel and through the journey and get them to stay on your site. So you've got your basic buyer's journey. You know what your competition is. You know what kind of content you need. So start to build it. If you're a brand new Acumatica partner, we want you to have an Acumatica page. You can leverage a lot of our content through the widgets or through repurposing, or you can start and create your own. We have some partners who are doing a really good job of that. I'll share some information around those. Blogging, I can't emphasize enough the value of it, the value that you get from having good original content on your site. If you are just starting out, you don't have a lot, you only have 2 blogs, you don't want to start a blog with just 2 entries, you can join a group blog. Those are affordable, and you get the power of a whole lot of contributors putting their content in one place and people going to that as a good resource. For budgeting purposes, there are some very affordable resources that we can provide at Acumatica to outsource some of those pieces. We do some success stories, we do blog writing. I know Adrian offers some services around that as well. So there are services that if you know what to do, if you have the people on staff who have that knowledge, we can help you get it out of their heads and onto paper. Something that we used to do at Crestwood, and I know other partners have done this. They'll schedule 15 minutes during drive time or during lunch with one of their consultants, and they'll interview them and record it. And then there's a service called rev.com, and it transcribes things for, I don't know, 10 cents a word or so much per minute. So basically, you know, for $15 or less, you can get a draft of a blog post that then you don't have to worry about. You can just take that and either edit it yourself, or you can outsource that. The biggest problem with outsourcing content is so few agencies know our industry that what you get back, if they write it for you completely, is usually not great. So that method takes a lot of the pain out of it and makes it pretty quick. And then, as I mentioned, we've got Acumatica's portal has a ton of templates and widgets and resources that you can use as is and co-brand, or you can take them and customize them. I know that I worked in the Microsoft field for a long time, and I always thought that their marketing template content was pretty low quality. I didn't use much of it, and I have to say I probably didn't use as much as I should have when I was an Acumatica partner. But looking at it from this side of the table, what we create and the amount that we create and the targeted nature of it is really amazing. I will share some with you later. So we have your content, your basic content. How do people get to it? Well, you're going to create basically an offer. So an offer is not a discount. I know I talked to a couple of partners who were like, well, I didn't know what you were talking about when you meant an offer. To me, an offer is like, hey, it's a sale. There's a discount here. That's not what it is. An offer is something of value. So whether it's a white paper or something that they'd be willing to give up a piece of information for or download. And I hear a lot of confusion around landing pages as well. They'll call any page a landing page because someone landed on it. That's not how it works in marketing land. A landing page has a very specific purpose. It's simply the vehicle that somebody obtains your offer. So it should have no navigation. It shouldn't look like the rest of your website. It should be all about that piece of content. So somebody knows, hey, I'm here to get this particular thing, and that's all I'm here to do. And, oh, they want a few pieces of information from me. If you can have that information pre-populate through a marketing automation tool that you're using, that's great. And I would also recommend in the beginning, ask for very minimal information. I think the first two pieces we ask for at Acumatica are first name and email. And then as they come back for more, we'll tack on, we'll pre-populate those two pieces, but then we'll ask for maybe a last name and a company, or a phone number, or a company size, or something else like that. So you build up, progressive forms is what they call it. And we have a library of landing pages that you can choose from, and you can use those to help create your own. So now you have all of the homework, and you've got your basic starter content, and you've got your landing pages so somebody can get the content. How do you make people aware that you have it and get found? So if it's blog posts or events or webinars, social media is great for that if you have a presence. If you don't, it's going to be hard to, you're going to have to build that. But newsletters and outbound emails still work. They just require some legwork and some segmentation. So these days, people don't want a generic blast of information. They want to know that you know them. So segmenting and speaking to them based on their role or their interest or what they've done in the past, if you have that information, really helps. But we send out, I think, a total of 8 different newsletters, and we did 4 at Crestwood. And if we skipped a month, people noticed, and people would tell us, hey, where's the newsletter? So as much as we dreaded doing them sometimes, they work. And they're a great way to amplify your content and get that consumed. If you work with some add-on products, they will be more than happy to help and work with you to cross-promote your content. And I think that's a huge missed opportunity that we haven't taken advantage of in the industry. There's some pretty affordable Facebook and Twitter amplification that you can do. And then I would say setting up remarketing through Google is an absolute no-brainer. Those are the ads that follow you once you visited a page. Those are pretty inexpensive and pretty easy to set up. And for those of you who are a little more sophisticated or have a little bit more budget, I would definitely investigate AdWords to promote your content. So then there's some additional concerns or questions that I get around content promotion. The biggest one is lists. Everybody comes to me and asks me about, I want to buy a list, where should I buy it from? And I will say I'm not a big fan of the purchase list. The best list you get is the one you build, but I know that takes time, and sometimes there may be an event that you want to promote right away or something that's a little more urgent, you don't have time. You can buy them, you can source them through a number of different list providers. I think Discover.org is a really good service. I've liked them in the past. They're not cheap, so I think you get what you pay for. An affordable option, LinkedIn Sales Navigator license, which is an individual license, costs about, I don't know, 60 to 80 bucks a month. And you can pull lists that way. It's just that they're not going to be an email blast kind of nature. You're going to have to reach out through LinkedIn. So, but the good part about that is that you see who you have in common with them, and that may help get you an introduction. In terms of number, people are always saying, well, how big does my list have to be? As you saw from the outbound grid that I showed you earlier, we had lists that were 100. It doesn't really matter the size of the list, it's the quality of the people on it. You know, if you have a bunch of info at or support at email addresses, those are not going to get you very far. You could have 10,000 of those, but you're not going to get a great result. So it's quality versus quantity. One thing I strongly recommend is if you are buying a list, or even if you're doing your own through your own database, there's a service called Never Bounce, and I think it costs a fraction of a cent for each email, and it will verify that email address for you so that you don't get blacklisted for sending out a bunch of bulk emails that bounce. So I think a list of 5,000 names would cost you 40 bucks to get through Never Bounce. And then you're going to need a marketing automation tool, whether it's something like Constant Contact or MailChimp or something higher end like HubSpot, or there's some middle ground, Active Campaign and Marketing Campaigns. If you don't have one, you're going to need one of those. And then it seems kind of obvious, but a lot of people forget this step when they're starting their marketing, is to figure out, what are you going to measure? What are you going to figure your success on? And Google Analytics will help a lot with your website. It's pretty simple to set up, and it's reasonably simple to use. But in terms of your plan, you're going to want to evaluate your actuals at least quarterly. I would suggest you do it a lot more frequent than that, but you'll have businesses to run and other jobs to do too. Every marketing activity that you do should have a success metric to it. So if you're doing an event, what are your goals for that event? Do you have a number of people you want to attend? Do you have a number that you want to have follow-up meetings with? If you're doing an outbound campaign, do you have a click-through rate that you'd like, or a number of registrations or downloads? Every single thing should have a success factor. And you need to know that marketing is not an exact science. There are things that don't work. Acumatica does stuff that it doesn't work too. So the thing you want to do is be watching, so that when you have tactics that don't work, you correct those right away and don't throw good money after bad. All right, so we'll move on to some of the most common questions that I get and the mistakes that I see. So we talked a little bit about where do I get a good list from? That is one of the #1 questions that I get. I would say there's no such thing as buying a good list. Just go into it with eyes wide open that you're probably really going to get maybe 50% deliverable rate, and you're going to get 1% response rate if you're lucky, and that's going to take you 7 to 9 touches if it's a truly cold list, meaning they don't know you and they don't know your product, whether it's Acumatica or something else. What does a new website cost? Hiring? I hired an agency, or how do I know if they're doing a good job? How do I start using video? And should I sponsor a conference? And I have some slides around some of these, and some examples for you around that we'll go through. The mistakes I mentioned before, people aren't visiting your website to look for publisher information. They're not looking for fact sheets and brochures for the most part. They're looking for more information about you. And I still see a ton of static informational websites. As an internal project, we evaluated 3,000 plus VAR and ISV and IT firm websites. And I have to tell you that if you make even minimal improvements along these lines, you'll be so far ahead of the game because it's really rough out there. The #2 thing, treating all audiences the same. So not everybody who visits your site has the same role or the same question or the same problem. So you need to know who those people are, and you need to talk in their language and give them opportunities to self-identify. So say you know that the two roles that visit your site most often are CFOs and business owners. Well, put 2 boxes on your site. I am a business owner. I'd like to know about XYZ, and let them be treated like you know who they are. Another big one, not knowing who you are and having the same 5 traits, not blogging. This one I see a lot on blogs and other pieces of content, is forgetting that, once they're done reading or looking at what you've offered them, what now? If you don't suggest what they should do next, then they're probably just going to use the back button and go to what they were doing before. So putting calls to action or the next logical step in what they should do, even recommending that they share the article or that they comment on the article, will give you some stickiness for that visitor. And then unrealistic expectations. I'm going to spend a whole slide on this one because I think there's just a lot of uncertainty out there, and I hear from a lot of people, and I've experienced myself at Crestwood and the other partner that I was with. When you have an announcement or a product or a sale or a promotion, something, and you send an outbound email, it's not magic. I had a boss that really expected that if we sent this new product that we had out to all of our customer base, that it was going to fly off the shelves. And he was very, very disappointed when we didn't have anybody raise their hand after 1 email. And so, like I mentioned before, a truly cold list is going to take you probably 9+ touches. A warm list, meaning they know you or they know the product, is going to be a little less, but you need to have that expectation. And you also can help that with your segmenting and your messaging, treating people as individuals and not as one huge audience. The other thing, marketing is not a one-time gig. It really has to be an always-on function of your business now. Websites, you really cannot get away with doing them cheaply. They look like it if you do, and they don't function as well. So you're going to have to spend a little money. It doesn't have to be a huge budget, but you do have to budget for it. And marketing is a long-term game. There's not a lot of quick fixes and fast solutions in marketing. It takes time to build your reputation and your presence online and to be seen as experts. You start doing all of the things that we're mentioning and you give yourself the best shot at that, but it doesn't happen overnight. So I have a couple of examples around hiring a team or an agency. So I have a partner right now who is a little unhappy with the agency that they're working with, and they spend roughly $40K a year with this agency. And I think, you know, they've closed probably 4 deals from that investment. Now, there's some discussion around, you know, whether those were deals they would have closed anyway. And so they're trying to evaluate, hey, am I getting my money's worth from this agency? And so we're walking them through that and trying to help them evaluate that. But the key to understanding the success of your agency is having a plan and taking some ownership of that plan. I know that, you know, a lot of the mindset when you're a partner and you're engaging with an agency and you're paying that much money is you just want to throw it at them and say, go do it. This is your area of expertise, handle it for me. And that's great, but if you're not driving the bus, then you're going to get to this point where you're on opposite sides and you're not sure what success looks like. And you're unhappy. And they're not happy because they feel like they're not serving you well, even though in their eyes they are. So having a plan, communicating that plan, and checking in and requiring that they provide you with metrics are key. I've got some ballpark hiring and cost information here. It's going to vary greatly on your geo and the level of experience of person. If you're only hiring one person, the thing I see most is you hire a marketing manager and they're a generalist. So they're going to know a little bit about a lot of things, but they may not be a PPC or pay-per-click advertising expert. They may not be a graphic designer. They may not have strong writing. They may have a couple of these pieces. They may have social media expertise. So if you're hiring one person, the marketing manager mid-level is probably a safe bet, but you're going to want to see where their strengths are in their resume and their history. And then you're going to have to fill in, you know, with a per hour for these other pieces that they may not have. A website refresh. We've got a promotion right now that one of our agencies is doing for us, that they'll do it for $4,500. It's 3 payments of $1,500, and we've had really great feedback on that. I will say that I think the website redesign and refresh experience is a tough one for me, even though I'm in marketing, and I know a lot of people in our industry have tough problem with it because we're not technically the creative types. So basically when we go into this, we're speaking a different language. And I know when I went to do our website redesign at Crestwood, we absolutely spoke different languages. All I wanted to do was make the website look better and perform better and have some more landing pages and forms to fill out, things for people to do. And the agency wanted to do a complete color scheme and branding and who are we and all of this, you know, I don't know, creative kind of stuff where I didn't even think about. And it turns out that we met in the middle, and they were right that the color scheme and the new logo and the branding and the clean look was absolutely the right thing to do. But it was a really hard sell for me to learn that hey, I only want these things and you're going to push me into this. But sometimes you have to trust the experts, I guess. Lead generation. If you're going through an agency, I know we have some specials where we work with a few that will help you with content and promoting that content using some of these strategies that we talked about earlier. Roughly $3K a month and up, which can seem like a lot, but if you're closing 4 to 6 deals from it, then I think that the ROI is there. This is the website example that I was talking about with Crestwood. So if you're not familiar, Crestwood has been Acumatica's Partner of the Year 2 years, and they continue to be a top tier partner. So we did an investment, is budgeted at $15K. Initially did not include any of this new logo and complete redesign, interactive kind of stuff. We had a 3-month timeline when we started, which stretched to 4 months, which wound up being 6 months. However, if you take a look here, I've got live data that the traffic that from 2017, which was our old site, was very respectable, but there wasn't a lot of conversion. And then we did our refresh and we took a hit, which is absolutely what's going to happen because Google needs to re-index what you have, and you're probably going to have less content than you had before because you're streamlining, which is what we did. But as you can see, it gradually went up. But then 2019, it's been exceeding what it was in 2017, and I can tell you that they have one of the healthiest pipelines of all of our partners because they're doing website right. We have a couple other partners, Blytheco and Cloud9 and Cal Business Solutions, who all do a really good job on their websites if you want to look at those. I have a list here of some resources for you that we'll include in the deck when we share this out, but I mentioned a few of these. LinkedIn Sales Navigator, Rev, the transcription service, and Never Bounce. But if you're looking for some freelance work, Fiverr, Elance, and Upwork are all really good sources to get people, and they're the kind of places that have reviews and people get star ratings, so you can choose wisely. If you're going to start trying to schedule and be efficient about social, there's some social tools there. Hootsuite, Meet Edgar, and Social Jukebox all do a good job for little money. If you are starting to do graphic design or maybe a logo here or some images for your website on a budget, Canva and Adobe Spark are good options. Videos. Here at Acumatica, we use Wistia as the hosting platform for our videos, and it's really user-friendly. You can take any video and you upload it, and people can play it on demand. We can copy the code and share it with our partners, and that way they can embed a video onto their site, so someone can watch a video that's ours, that's not going to be sending them to Acumatica's site. Some conversion tool optimizers, Unbounce, Hotjar, Optimizely, all of those are going to help you if you notice that your pages are getting traffic, but they're not actually resulting in leads. Those are some good sources. And then Eventbrite is a free event management and registration tool. Well, it's free if your event is free. So if you're having a live event and you want to sell tickets to it, you can do it through Eventbrite for free. If you're charging something, they just take a piece of it, and you can actually tack that onto the price of the ticket if you want to. Very user-friendly, super simple to use, highly recommend. And then Pocket, the last resource on this list, is something that I use for all of my articles and resources that I love. It's a Chrome extension. If you're not familiar with it, I don't know if I can hop out to it, but I wanted to show you really quickly. You add it to Chrome, and then any article that you see, you just click up here to save to Pocket, and then it puts them on a page, and you can always go back to what you were reading. So mine are pretty much marketing focused, but yours could be whatever they are. And then tools and resources part 2. These are more along the line of where to get great marketing information outside of Acumatica. HubSpot has an academy that's fantastic that you can attend for free and learn anything and everything about marketing, and it's all very user-friendly. Ahrefs, that's a code, a piece of HTML code that they do a lot of content-based and more technical articles. SEMrush. If you really want to get advanced and you want to start doing some digging on what your competitors are doing, you can do it for free on SEMrush. You have a free account. They limit the functionality, but it's a great place to start. And then the rest are just some of the favorite tools that I use. I will highlight one of the last ones here is this Udemy.com. If you want to learn about WordPress or marketing or Adobe or anything for a very, very inexpensive amount, Udemy is great. I think there is a really goofy name. A friend of mine mispronounces it on purpose so that he can remember it, and he says, I call it Udemy, go learn something. So, but it's supposed to be from university and academy. I think they tried to join the names, but really 10, 12 bucks, you can get a 5 or 6 hour course on how to do something that you need to learn how to do. And they have a huge library. Skillshare is around the same concept, but they're a little more expensive. I think you have to subscribe for a year. And that will do it for me for now.
And again, we just want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to join us. We really appreciate you spending time with us. And just want to say thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.